What is up, guys? Welcome to part 2 of my indie game monetization series, where I take a game from idea phase all the way to release and try and get it to generate $1,000 per month in profit. So today's video is all about game design and the best practices that you can implement in your own games to produce kick-ass titles that not only have good retention but also end up monetizing well. So you could argue that game design is probably the most important aspect of the whole ecosystem of creating games. This is because you need your game to have a very good core loop in order for it to have any sort of success. You see, you can dress up your game with the most amazing graphics and sound effects, but you know what they say, at the end of the day, if you polish a turd, it's still a piece of shit. So if your game doesn't have a good core loop, then ultimately it's never going to get any traction. People just simply aren't going to play it. I've seen games that have the simplest graphics that top the charts because they're so addictive. Look at Flappy Birds. There was nothing special about the effects or the graphics. It was just a bird flapping through different obstacles, and it was one of the most successful games on the App Store. Same thing like Color Switch. You can do simple games that have good core loops that can be very successful. So people always ask me, what do you prioritize? Obviously prioritize making the game's mechanics fun so that people want to play it. And then you can worry about all the aesthetic things like artwork and sound effects. You also want to find a development team that has experience in the kind of game that you want to create. For example, if you want to build a sports game with that's physics-based, you don't want to look for people that just have experience building hyper-casual games or card games. So you actually want to find people that know what they're doing, that have built these type of games before, that can see the little nuances that make games really good and playable. So in my case, with my beer pong game, the core game loop is basically players have to flick a ping pong ball into one of the cups. They do also get different power-ups and they have to beat a timer. So this game is physics-based, which means that in order for this game to be successful, I know that it has to feel realistic. You have to give the customer or the player the experience of really playing beer pong. You know, so if they were to swipe the ball and it would kind of just go off in a direction they didn't aim at, immediately people stop playing. You want to create a sense of nostalgia when they're playing this game, and that only comes with it being as realistic as possible. So I know that one of the developers I've worked with on previous projects, he's got a lot of experience on kind of physics-based games, and so I went with his team and we created something quite realistic, and I was very happy with the results. You see, the way I monetize this game is through competitions. People compete against each other for real cash prizes. So if they feel like this game is not realistic and the ball doesn't go where they want it to go, they're not going to feel comfortable playing and competing against someone else for money. So this is why it's really important to give them that experience of realism. And this comes with a lot of tweaking and making sure you actually do have experience with the original game. If you haven't played beer pong, it's good to set up some cups and just see how the physics work, get that feeling. And when you create that game, if you don't get that same feeling from your mobile game, then there's no point releasing it. So I'm very meticulous about this sort of thing, and it comes with a lot of testing. So you can't just take shortcuts in this process. You have to actually sit down and tweak things and get a lot of testers in front of it just to make sure that you're on the right page and you're giving the player the right experience. Most game devs, they release a game thinking that it's good enough, but in reality, good enough is not going to cut it, especially when there are thousands of games being released every day on the App Store. Most of them just kind of spam and not high quality at all. So you want to at least separate yourself from the herd by creating good quality apps. And like I said, they don't have to be amazingly polished. They just have to have a fun core game loop that kind of hooks the player. Because ultimately, if you look at psychology of gaming, players get rewarded in the game. It releases dopamine, and they get hooked on that feeling of that dopamine release. So that's what you want to create within your game. And yeah, you can start by creating good quality games that have a realistic feel to them and that are fun to play. So I hope you guys found some value in this video. If you did, please smash that like button, subscribe if you do like this kind of content. In the next video, I will be going over the pre-marketing steps, namely ASO, and the strategies I use to try and rank games on the App Store to get that valuable golden traffic. And that helps you tremendously when you have a small budget and you're not able to run paid ads. So yeah, subscribe if you want to keep up to date. And yeah, I will see you on the next one. Stay safe and peace out.